Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I'm Peyman Ascari. I'm joined here by Timothy Knight, also known as Corn Pop. How's it going?
It's good. Beautiful day here. Lots of sun. Climate change has not affected the sun. That's good news.
All right. There's a lot in there. Hold on to that for a second. Andre, how are you doing, Mr. Malosh?
I'm doing fine. We're preparing for the Carneyval in Quebec City. But there's another one also in Ottawa. Maybe we'll talk about this one too.
So, before we actually get to news that matters, Tim, could you explain what's going on with your name? What's the reference?
It's tongue in cheek. I'm making a little bit of fun at Biden and his pal Corn Pop, but also Corn, Khorn, is the god of war and violence from the Warhammer universe. So it's just a little bit of grown-up teenager games, social commentary, political dreams.
You're talking about the political context now. Social, grown-up teenager game. That's right. That's an oxymoron.
Grown-up teenager games. Yeah. So basically, expecting carnage, getting my costume ready.
Mm-hmm. It will be what, a horror movie?
Well, it depends on your perspective.
Okay. No, it's because with the chainsaw and everything, with the mask.
Yeah, see, the chainsaw has to be electric, so don't expect too much.
A gamer, eh? If he begins telling us about the Horus heresy, watch out.
There we go. Somebody caught it. That's fantastic.
I think we will lose ground here.
I think this is the first reference I don't get, but I feel this episode it won't be the last reference.
That's terrific. Well, see, then putting my name this way is already
at least we have pants on.
Yeah. Do we?
Do we? Do we really? We're gonna roll the dice to find out.
No, we're not. Everyone, stay seated.
Okay,
for the audience.
Okay, Peyman, hit the red button now. Let's go.
Oh yeah, we're not live yet. Let's go.
What are we talking about today? I mean, Carney's the big one. I'm really a big fan of his slogan. I said they should have put a question mark at the end. I'm in.
It just boggles the mind. I mean, I'm into marketing, and I'm into.
He's in.
It just I read this stuff, and my eyes just roll over, thinking, who is he paying to come up with these things? This is the blind leading the blind. You're literally taking. How old is Carney?
Well, if he's paying,
are you asking us if you're in? Are you telling us that you're in? Is this like a post-it note at the end of a love letter? Like, I'm in.
One thing is for sure. If he's paying somebody by words, the man will not make a lot of money, because with three, I am in, and it's I'm in. He's not even am. I think he's saving money already. He's saying that he will save the economy. What's the next slide you had? I'm in and we're not.
Right. Yeah. It's the George Carlin line, right? It's a big club and you're not. Yeah.
Yes, and you ain't in.
You ain't in it. See, somebody paid him for more words.
But he is a boomer, so it's possible that he's not in.
Yeah. Well, it's the.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I'm in a big club. Well, he arrived with the Volkswagen.
Right.
A white Volkswagen.
Right.
Volkswagen. It is people. Wagen, it is car in German. So Volkswagen. Look at the Volkswagen. Me, I'm very happy. If he promised this to every Canadian, I will vote for him immediately.
That's did we the stretch limo Rolls Royce is entirely un-Canadian.
It's British. It's British.
Yes, right. It's British. It's absolutely British.
Well, you have to understand. You have to understand. He's flying on British Airlines to come back to Canada. He has 3 passports, and he was the chief executive officer of the Central Bank of England, which is the city in London, which is not Great Britain, like the Vatican, and like Washington, D.C.
Right.
So they're not alleged to any nationality. He has 3 passports, the man.
It's an organization, not a state.
Yes. So,
Wait, is the city of London sovereign like what Vatican is sovereign?
Oh,
yes.
Peyman,
Yes.
don't tell me you don't. Are you not?
You have to go there.
Oh, can I? Can I open this up for Peyman?
Go ahead.
Yes, you can open it.
Eyes glaze over. So you have the physical city of London, which is a city in the nation of England, right? And then you have the City of London, in quotes, which is an organization, a banking cartel operating outside of the Commonwealth rule in London. It's camouflage.
Yes.
And nobody gets it. It's brilliant.
Well, nobody gets it. I was a business trader, and we have what we call a deal over the counter. No, over the counter means the bankruptcy of Enron in 2000 was they had 75% of their trading over the counter. It means outside of official trading. Yeah. So the city, it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you guys a question, and then apparently Wolf thinks it's perfectly acceptable for him to send me on errands in the middle of meetings. So I'm going to go check out his memes, and then I'll bring him over. But can you answer the question? Vatican, City of London, the Bank for International Settlements, and DC, are they all equally sovereign?
Equally sovereign? I would say the Bank of International Settlement is the bank of all banks, the bank of all central banks.
But there will be people who will tell you that all of the European banks, the big untouchable ones, bend the knee to the Vatican. So there is a hierarchical structure, at least theoretically.
Well, now the wall around the Vatican are being fortified now, while Pope Francis is asking people to open their borders.
Right.
And
it's logical to me.
The army of the Vatican is the Schweizart. They are from Switzerland.
You mean the Templars?
No, don't go there. But the idea is very interesting because you have a private guard, and they are securing the Vatican. And the Vatican has its constitution. It's not Italy.
Yeah,
it's not Italy.
Yeah,
it's in Rome, but it's not Italy.
Yeah.
It is a completely different country, the Vatican.
Yes.
It is its own recognized state, even when I was a kid. But
it's a recognized state.
The world, and the Vatican had its own map, even when I was a kid.
Right, but Washington, D.C. is not as sovereign as the Vatican is.
No.
Officially, no.
Okay, yeah, that's all. Okay, that bought me enough time to bring up this guy's memes.
Good.
Votes Mammon.
That's good.
What's Mammon?
Mammon is it's a New Testament reference.
God of money.
God
of money.
Mammon is the name, the god of money. It's a Revelations reference.
You cannot serve to God.
Yeah.
Unless you're polytheist.
Yeah. Unless you're polytheist. In which case, you go to the altar on Monday and you go again on Tuesday. Different gods, different reasons.
Near my river, I have a lot of stones. I carry a lot of stones because I have an old mill. And when I carry the stone, I pray with them.
Right.
Because they are, I would say I would be a polytheist if I pray with them. No, I pray with God. I always say to God, please don't hit me with a heart attack, because I still have to carry those stones up. And if you hit me with a heart attack, you will have to finish the job yourself. So mind your own business, and I will mind my own business.
You stay on your side of the grave. I'll stay on my side of the grave.
All right, here's another one. Debt slavery for the masses. I'm in.
Right.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's.
I would have put peasants instead of masses.
Yeah,
I'm all in the climate swindle.
He has a good sense of humor.
I'm in the big club.
The big club.
I think the first one was probably the one that was
yes.
Yeah.
Black and white. That's good too.
Yeah. That's good. So there, Wolf Aurelius, you're our one viewer, and you're also just made yourself famous. So we're getting royalties when this goes viral.
Well, I'm not playing a YouTube video. I'm drawing the line, man. You're overstepping the boundaries.
No, we're not. We're not embedding a YouTube video.
Come on, if you play the YouTube video, we can go and have a coffee and come back in 1 hour.
Right.
The episode will be finished.
Is it that Baywatch episode or a different Baywatch episode?
Yes. Carney he will be incoronated, or there will be a race.
No, there's who's going really.
Who's going to run? Who's going to run after him?
Calling it a race, but Chrystia Freeland, who
can you show? Do you show
back into the picture like the wet cat could have been kicked out in the rain? And
Jolie, she said she would not run.
She said she wouldn't run.
She's on OnlyFans, so she cannot run.
On OnlyFans, she has to afford her drinking habit.
You know that today or yesterday I saw that Chrystia Freeland, she erased all her posts in Instagram.
She erased them?
Everything.
On Instagram?
Yeah. I didn't know she was on Instagram. I was not on Instagram.
Why would a woman in her 50s be on Instagram?
All right. I just like to point out the comments made.
That can slide.
Not to the podcast.
Oh, so the link was for the spider's web. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
What did you want me to put up, Andre?
The red meme of Chrystia Freeland.
Well, how do I? Do you
Why?
want me to Google?
No. No, Andre, you had the picture. You got to pull it up from our channel.
Hey, boy. How do I do this?
Yeah, a Rolls Royce limo. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Do you remember this woman named Miley Cyrus? She's a pop star, and she did these shenanigans where she danced like an idiot on stage, and she became famous.
Right.
Is this what Carney's going for? Like, I'm going to get to, where's this, Edmonton, and I'm going to get in the really rickety limousine and drive through the snow and get there and kick out the journalists.
So now you want to show the picture of the limousine Lada.
Oh.
Limousine Lada.
Right. So, yeah.
That was for the diplomatic people in Soviet Union. But they also had what we call Voronuk. Voronuk means a black crow, and black crow was for the people. It was car that was function car for the NKVD, the police state, and everybody knew when the black crow was coming for them. It's a one-way ticket. So what about Carney? Carney, he will what? He will be incoronated, and he will. Yes, that's the Lada.
The Lada limousine
car.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely, and the whole roof is cardboard.
0 to 60 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds.
0 to 60 never.
They fly low. They don't drive fast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they're still in function, those cars. Huh?
Are they still in production?
Yes, but not this model, but yes, Lada, they're still in production. Well, especially now with sanctions, it's
right,
even more.
Yes, the sanctions, they have to, yes. So they're recycling all their T-72s into car parts.
Well, Tupolev are still flying.
The Tupolevs are still flying.
And Boeing, the 737 MAX is crashing. So,
what do you guys? What do you think is going to happen with this race? Like, it's down to Freeland and Carney, and I mean, both of them have serious issues.
They have what skeleton in the closet.
Andre says that Carney is stupid. But I think he's at least smart enough to make sure people know how to do their accounting, even if they are cheating. So I think he'll be a better, well, I was going to say finance minister, but if he's going to be PM, then he has to pick a finance minister. Who's going to be his finance minister?
Chrystia Freeland.
Oh my God.
Back to square one.
Back to square one. So now we got a Brit in Canada with a leash on an Austrian accountant. And she's not an accountant because she's a journalist, and she wasn't good at that either.
I thought she was Ukrainian.
This is clown show.
Well,
Sorry, Ukrainian.
That's another
Ukrainian.
death trap. You know, Carney is coming from Great Britain. So now in Great Britain they have Keith Starmer, and they have the pedophile or the mass aggression scandal, and the UK government is going down. So I think Carney is flying before the the
and
scandal.
then as prime minister or head of state, he'll be effectively immune from any charges that might come his way.
Well,
unless those charges are Donald Trump.
Well, in which case, taxes.
Well, Carney is arriving as an advocate of the World Economic Forum. He does not hide it, and he promotes the 2030 United Nations agenda with the carbon market, and he goes directly in line with the climate change narrative. I will not say hoax, but I will say narrative. And there's no consensus on climate change, entropic climate change. This is not reality.
Was it the IPCC? Is that what it's?
International Panel on Climate Change. Right. Those are a group. It is a group of diplomats. They're not scientists.
Right.
And I downloaded the last report. It is 6,000 pages with the table of content. And I can guarantee you, if you are able to have a consensus in this document, which is very heavy to read, good luck. Right. Good luck. And I think it is very important when we talk about science and consensus. There's no such thing as consensus in science. It is dissensus. It's very important to understand that. If we arrive, but you know, the mainstream media, all the political class, they push this agenda for one purpose. And Carney is arriving with the same idea. He wants to distance himself from that, but he will not be able to do it. Come on, one day after his announcement, everybody's doing meme, everybody making fun of him. You know, somebody said he's the Michael Ignatieff 2.0.
Oh, that wrestle, of course.
Ignatieff is an intellectual. He's a university teacher, and he's a very intelligent man. That's why when I say Carney is stupid, he's not stupid. He's an intelligent man, but he's arriving with this aura of, you know, I will be an intellectual. I will guide you, Moses in the desert. Right. First of all, he doesn't have any political reputation. Yeah. He's a banker. Yeah. We use the term today, banksters, because we don't trust bank. And you know what? When during the Freedom Convoy, they closed bank account, they froze bank accounts. So do you trust your bank? You call your bank and you say, okay, can I have my money? It's not your money if you put it in our bank.
No, they'd say, why? Why do you want it?
Why do you want? In Europe now, you go and try to retrieve 1,000 euro, and they will ask you why. They will ask you a written reason to be able to retrieve 1,000 euros. And yet we sent again, I think it was 1 month ago, $500 million to Ukraine.
Right.
No, do we have a receipt for that?
Well, yeah, it's a receipt, but it's in the shoebox.
Well, yes, I want to have the shoebox.
Right. I think the shoebox is in my other car.
So Carney is arriving with an agenda. He's trying to save the Liberal Party. He's not trying to help Canada.
Yeah.
Can he save the Titanic? I think he cannot. He can just play with the orchestra.
Yeah.
We have the first theory from the audience. What if Carney's Royce limo, logo copy, and poor speech were all on purpose? I didn't know he had a poor speech. I don't think they were mistakes, and they're trying to get Freeland in.
Ah, that's a good hypothesis.
It's an interesting one, and I think we have a comparison south of us.
I can tell you, I listened to the speech of Carney, not all of it because it was boring. It's politicians when they arrive with a speech like this, it's always boring. I work for Canadian, but I listened to his the part of his speech in French. Thank God it's not like the other MP who wanted to run and doesn't speak one word of French and said in Quebec it is not important French. I said, shit, he doesn't know nothing about Canada. Yeah. And Carney was reading a text, and it was, first of all, it's bad French, very bad French, but maybe it's good for Quebecers, I don't know. And it was so simple. How do you expect somebody who has, I would say, university degree, I think he has a PhD in economics, how can you expect that this person cannot express himself correctly with a coherent and I would say rich vocabulary? He cannot. And even in English, they use always the same stereotype to attract the fly in the honeypot. It will work. It will work for at least for 22% of the population of Canada. All the liberal voters, they will vote, even in their grave, they will vote liberal. They will never change their, even if you say, okay, we will deprive you from your private property, you will not be able to have a car, you will have a carbon footprint, you will live in a ghetto, which we call 15-minute city.
Yeah.
And you will have a bicycle one day every 2 days, and you will eat bugs. Oh, let's go. They will still do it. You have what, 20%? Okay, well, you can include the NDP. You have 30% are still not convinced that the 2030 agenda is not a hoax.
Even though it's on their website in plain English.
And you go to
other languages.
You go on the website, and they don't hide it anymore. They just don't hide it. So good luck.
Yeah.
We have some follow-up audience, but Tim, what's your view? Do you think that this is they're just trying to get Freeland in?
So let's, for a little bit of sideways fun, let's look at the self-governance comment. Is this not Trump in 2016, was it?
16.
Limo, the logo copy, the poor speech, all on purpose, right? So Trudeau's first kick at the can, he was full of bluster and repetition and sounded like a grade 9 kid hopped up on rock stars, right? But this was intentional. He did this intentionally. So is Carney, although Carney is more smooth, he's visually more smooth, he's more aware of the camera. Right? So as far as being if indeed he is a managed puppet, it's possible, but if indeed he is, then he is considerably smoother than what we've seen in the States. And that's probably the British decorum rubbing off on his personality and how he managed himself in public. Are they trying to get Freeland in? Keeping in mind that the Liberal Party is toast, they are not winning the next election, and they're likely to be decimated at the polls, then bringing Carney in is to rebuild trust in the brand. That's right. He's managing. So they're bringing in a manager to rebuild the Liberal Party. They've got, how far are we away from September, October?
2025 or 2026?
And I've been saying 2026 for the last couple of years, and a lot of people aren't quite wrapping their head around that, but we'll get to that in a second. We're only 6 or 8 months away from a potential election here in 2025. If that's the case, nothing new is going to happen, right? So whatever they'll do, what the NDP tried to do in British Columbia prior to the previous election, that is, they'll try to ram through a bunch of big deal items that will hopefully survive the CPC landslide.
You're talking about 6-7 months. It means in summertime.
Yeah.
Peyman will be at the beach.
Yeah.
And 35% of people will not turn in to go to vote.
Right.
So
That's
you will diminish the majority of the Conservative.
Yeah.
If you have an election in summer,
Yeah.
everybody will go to the beach. Nobody will go vote to vote.
There's no member of parliament who wants an election in summer because they take 2 months, almost 3 months off every summer. And they don't. So I think it'd be very unlikely that a caucus would agree to a summer election. So my thought with the proroguing that we talked about last week was, if March 24 they come back to the floor, at which time there would be the Carney would enter as the replacement leader, and there will be some type of handover. So then Carney will have a what do they call that, an onboarding period, maybe a month, and there won't be an election, right? Because they're going to be decimated anyway, so they might as well drag it out as long as they can, right? And then once you get everybody goes off for summer, they come back mid-September, and Paul Revere says, okay, we've had enough, we're done. And it won't matter what the Liberals try to do at that time, because the NDP will also be chomping at the bit for the election.
Did you check the press conference of Pierre Poilievre yesterday?
No.
He did a very quick and he was attacking Carney.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he will. He said that Carney is a globalist. I was honestly, I was impressed. I don't like Poilievre, but I was impressed. He was right. Immediately, he attacked Carney as a globalist, and he was saying we will restart the oil and gas industry in Canada. And I would say this infuriates the socialists in Quebec, because when he's saying that, he's saying, okay, we will have a national policy on energy.
Yeah.
Which is quite different when you hear François Legault, who wrote a long letter. No, I didn't write it. Somebody wrote it for him because he has problem even speaking in French. So, but he wrote in the Hill that he would not cut the electricity export, but he's practically threatening American.
Yeah.
And I was impressed because yesterday Poilievre showed, he said it's nationalism against globalism. In his very short speech,
yeah,
I said, whoa, that's interesting.
So perhaps
the shift.
So perhaps this apparent shift in his posture to what seems to be a more nationalistic approach, especially because if he can paint Carney as the big bad globalist, then he will paint himself as the nationalist, as the blue savior, the blue messiah. It'll be June, and he'll drink the water of life, and he'll get the blue eyes. He'll become the blue messiah, right? So then, and perhaps their internal polling is saying, we're going to win with or without Quebec, so who cares?
Who cares?
Right?
But
if we get the West, we get Ontario and the West excited for the blue wave, and we'll get more of them because now we're adding anti-Quebec.
Exactly, and it's interesting. It's Danielle Smith too,
right?
Because Danielle Smith, she's taking a very nationalist policy, nationalist instead of defending national sovereignty. And when you look at this, but I was looking at the poll, and now the Conservatives are starting to they're starting to push the Bloc Québécois in Quebec.
Yeah,
they're rising. They top in the rest of Canada. The polls are they arrive at a certain level, but in Quebec they're still growing. Because the bloc that now I think a lot of people in Quebec, they're seeing the bloc as something that has nothing to do with political representation. The bloc will never be the official opposition. The bloc will never be part of the government or even a coalition, because their sole purpose is to make independence. Even if I would say a dependence of the pension of their members of parliament.
The front end of their pitch.
Exactly.
Right. But the back end of their pitch is, we're going to sit in the House of Commons and suck on the public teat.
Yes. And I think Poilievre understands that they're gaining momentum in Quebec, and they're trying to consolidate their position in the rest of Canada. It's a strong policy. So I was surprised with the declaration of Poilievre yesterday.
Why don't we go to Wolf here then? No, Carney is the shoe-in. He and the Liberal will offer UBI and try to sweep the legs out from under any change. He serves the Crown and the city.
Well, I don't think Carney will offer UBI because the Liberals won't be in government after October.
Yes, but
I know that the Liberal Party is in favor of it, and I know that they're pushing it, and that UBI is probably the gateway into central bank digital currency.
Exactly, that's very important to mention.
I know that myself on a disability pension, and then so the others, the seniors, and certain types of welfare recipients and whatnot, even EI, these funds that are being transferred to these beneficiaries nationally and provincially are already done digitally. Right, so the deposits are made digitally already. So there is about 30% of Canada is already very familiar with a central bank digital currency model, with the exception that you can also move cash around. So there is a psychological threshold that's already being met for people to accept UBI, especially if UBI bumps to a flat $2,000 a month, which I think is the goal, because if you look during the mandates, with the, what is it called now?
It was the emergency income.
The emergency payments was $2,000 a month.
$2,000,
and I think that was a test. And
that was a test.
Right? That was a test. So the Liberals have already tested UBI via these COVID support payments and whatnot. So, and you already have about 30% of the Canadian population that is already familiar with living a lifestyle under primarily digital currency. So
except for one thing, they can cut the funding anytime.
But
like they did. Yes, you call your bank and says, we don't know you, Mr. Knight. You don't have a bank account here. Oh, it's frozen. Call. You have to, social credit. Michel Chartrand, who was a union leader in the 1970s, 1980s. He was very harsh, but he was pushing for UBI at the time. He was saying universal basic income means that, we will help poor people. And that was a Crédit Social at the time in Quebec. And they bring back this old idea that the best way to have a more fair and equal society is that everybody should have an income. But don't forget, with artificial intelligence, they say that there's a lot of people who will lose their work, translator, a lot of skilled worker, and even university academic. So they were preparing the way to, I would say, to make it more acceptable for people. You lose your job, okay, we will provide you. It's like unemployment. I remember it was 1994, after the bloc was created, they started to attack the unemployment agency in Canada, because there was a big transfer of money from the account of unemployment to the government. I don't remember, it was in billions of dollars.
90.
And yes, and a lot of union leaders, they were saying this, they're robbing people, because when you work, you pay unemployment. That's an insurance policy. And you remember, I think it was in 1997, they changed the definition of the and even the title. It was assurance emploi, assurance chômage, unemployment, and after that it was employment insurance. So they changed the name of the program, and they could pump the money out of it, so underfinancing the money that was coming from the workers. And what are we seeing now is this is okay, with the universal basic income, we will provide a basic income for every Canadian. Yes, okay, but if you comply with climate change, if you comply with carbon tax, in Quebec now they are, like I said last week, they are implementing electrical vehicle quota, and you see it everywhere. They're pushing this. So Carney is arriving with this nice presentation that he will be there for all Canadians. Yes, okay. If everybody has $2,000 per month, except him with his white limousine.
I think where Wolf was going with it, I'll share my thoughts. I think that the Liberals are going to tone down their far left extremist talk. I think that's why Carney's here, to
More
give this centrist, good, mild-mannered person as in opposition to Trudeau, which was a lunatic, to try to strip away some of the voters from the Conservative Party. Or do you think that they're going to do the opposite's going to happen now, where Pierre Poilievre is going to actually move to the right and the Liberals are going to move even more to the left?
I don't think Trudeau has to move to the right at all. Sorry, Pierre Poilievre. I don't think he has to move to the right at all. Right. I think he maintains his position and now gets to paint Carney as the globalist. And we finally have somebody who visibly looks and behaves like what we perceive to be a globalist. Whereas Trudeau never looked international. He never
looked at nothing.
Never looked Euro, right? He never looked like anything other than an unqualified part-time teacher, right? And that's an insult to teachers, right? So he never looked professional. He never looked diplomatic. He never carried this. And if you say that, because I haven't paid any attention to Carney's speechifying, I'm more interested in the visuals, because the average Canadian only has about 3 seconds, and they'll make a visual. They'll take, and that's what they'll run with. So, and he's mindful of that. So he keeps his mouth shut. He'll take the seat regardless. Everything that we're saying is Carney will do this, Carney will do that. And the answer is no, he won't, because the Conservatives will be in government in the fall. So Carney won't. Carney's job is to save the Liberals from dropping to 6 seats. That's his job.
That's what he meant, though. Like, he's going to lean into universal basic income to try to get those people that think with their emotions. Oh, the poor. Oh, the needy. Right. The people who can't pay mortgages.
But see.
Oh, universal.
But Poilievre is going to do the same thing. Is what I'm saying. Is if I get someone else to do all the plowing, and then all I got to do walk behind and drop in the seeds and keep on going, then I've done my job, right? So he's let the Liberals do all the plowing for the last couple of years. The Blues have let the Liberals take all the heat for COVID, all the heat for the mandates, all the heat for the financial mismanagement, and they've let them take all the heat for that because their pushback has been minimal. So now the Liberals are so hated, well, Trudeau primarily is so hated that they will not be able to stop a blue wave. And the idea there is we're looking at probably 2/3 of all seats going blue, which is astonishing, and that hasn't been done in Canadian history. So having done all that, and once he has a mandate that's that strong, he will then begin to talk to Canadians about building the homes and doing the jobs and all of the axing the tax. He'll axe the tax and do this dollar for dollar thing where he'll say, this is how we're going to support UBI. Because I was at an event that Poilievre did a couple hours away from me back in September or October last year. And in that event, and he had 300 people hanging on to his every word like proselytes. He had said that the programs they make will be funded by programs they cut. So he's talking about fiscal responsibility as far as balance is concerned. So then the question is, what's he going to cut to fund the things they're going to create? I just did some real quick math when you're talking about UBI. If 1/3 of Canadians are on some form of financial benefit, be it right old age security, right down to welfare recipients, then you're looking at, and the payment is raised across the board, raised to $2,000 a month for every one of these beneficiaries, because it's universal. It has to be one single amount for all of these beneficiaries. 1/3 of Canadians are on some form of subsidization. You're looking at $312 billion a year.
That's
year.
that's what I wanted to refer to, and this is very important. Who qualifies for UBI?
And who qualifies?
Who
Yes,
qualifies? What do we
Yeah.
do with new immigrants or temporary foreign worker or students? How many students disappear now?
50,000.
50,000
If they didn't
students.
disappear,
They
they
don't
never
know where
showed
they
up.
are.
They
And
didn't disappear. They never showed up.
they never show. During the pandemic, I saw people here. They said they called the ARC because they said some people they were registering their dogs.
That's right.
How they never checked who qualified for that. So you can imagine, like you said, it's digital. So and today we know how hackers work. So you can imagine if you have this program. You said $312 billion a year.
That's rough.
That will be, yes, I understand that. It's rough. It is not, but the idea is there. You provide money for people who do nothing. No accountability, no responsibility, and no duty whatsoever. And I'm not against helping people. It's not the question. The question is, what is the balance? What's the deal? What's the deal?
I rebut that they are not doing nothing, because UBI using social credit, some form of programmability, carbon footprint, right? Then your how much cubic feet of you're allowed to produce. Everybody could be given you have 100 cubic feet of carbon you can produce every month, and this is worth that much, and this like a food measuring system, right? And you do these things, and then you add a social credit attached to that, then UBI becomes the bell over the dogs.
It's Pavlov.
It's Pavlov. So this is very useful because you can make 1/3. Who needs AI to vote for you?
No,
right? I can write to an audience in a super subtle way to say, this is what I want you to do, without me saying, this is what I want you to do.
Tim, I get that, but what I can't wrap my head around is, if you bring in UBI, I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to go to work. And then when 100% of the people are at home,
yeah,
who's on the farm, first of all? Secondly, where's the money for the UBI?
The big consortium will be on the farm.
Yes.
You will have
They are.
Yes, exactly. They are already.
Look at Maple Leaf Foods. Maple Leaf Foods owns most of Quebec.
And you can be sure that you will have drone who will deliver you food in your home, and you will not be able to go more far. Then that's a fantasy world. That will not happen. I can guarantee you now people are starting to push back against the concept of 15-minute city. Now they're starting to feel the news slowly tighten up. And it's not very comfortable. At first, you start to breathe a little bit more heavily and you start to adapt. But when it starts to be much more uncomfortable, you start to talk to other people and they're starting to feel it. What I would say be that globalism, as we know it now, is ending. And what will replace it? Maybe it will not be nationalism or state, because we see the push of Trump to have a more, let's say, integrated American continent with Canada and Mexico. Mexico are not very happy with that because they're nationalist. They're more nationalist, I would say, than Canadian. But look at what happened here.
Mexico has a history of fighting for their identity.
That's it. That's
right.
it.
And so that what's the right word?
Just to be clear, fighting, not winning.
But that's, how is that any different than the Plains of Abraham? Right?
It's not.
You still have Quebecers who are pissed at losing the Plains of Abraham 17 times.
The war was lost, but they were still fighting. And I can say, the resilience of the Quebec identity is still there. You can see it with ordinary citizens in Quebec. they're very attached to the language and the, let's say, the distinctive culture, and they fight for it. Even if they don't fight hard, they keep on fighting. And the integrate, the concept of the 51st state. There's a debate now in Quebec about this, and nationalists are not happy because they're losing ground. They try to sell a social democrat society in Quebec, and it is quite fascinating. Globalism is not ending. Molting, yes, exactly. He's right. He's right. And it is shifting. It is a mutation.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah. The shifting that we see tends to happen on the eve of an election, right? So you look at the ebb and flow of human nature, right? So you have a rising tide of liberalism. They realize, wow, liberalism really sucks. And then there's a rising tide in conservatism. And then you find, conservative. And then 4 years from now, people will be, maybe 9 years from now, people will be tired of conservatism, and they'll push back toward a more. And this is the natural ebb and flow. So globalism, or these major philosophical or bureaucratic movements, they have to be the mountain, right, around which this ebb and flow moves. Do you understand the picture that I'm painting? Right? So globalism or nationalism or statism or whatever these large concepts are cultural concepts, they're like the rock. They're like the rock in the river, right? So with the high tide and the low tide, the rock is still there, but over time it changes. Over time it adapts. So globalism is indeed molting in that sense. This adaptive camouflage is an interesting concept because that's very much a psychological response to stress, right? So globalism is now feeling the pressure against it, particularly in Europe. So it's re-skinning itself to something more palpable.
You need to understand, if you talk about Europe, you need to understand that the European Union will crash. This is a statement. It will crash when it is coming. It is coming. You can see what is happening in Romania and what is happening now in Hungary and in Slovakia when Ukraine cut the flow of gas through Europe. Now the liquid natural gas will be much more expensive for, for example, Slovakia. So they're starting to challenge the European Commission. And we will go back to something that will be, again, what I was saying, balkanization of structure. And then after that, you will have some great political power, of course, Russia, but China, United States, that will they will have power grab. If they cannot do it economically, or they cannot do it with trading agreement, they will use force if they can, because we can look at United States with $30,000 billion of debt, only the federal debt. And with the level of corruption, they can try to take the Arctic, for example. But you need to be able to sustain the conquest. If you try to conquest a territory and you cannot sustain it, you lose your advantage, political advantage. If, for example, you would integrate Canada as the 51st state, or as, let's say, a mega United States, which is possible, it's a hypothesis, you need to be able to sustain that structure. You need to have an identity. Would Canadian people accept what we would call the concept of melting pot? I'm not sure, because Quebecers, they are very attached to their language. Alberta are very attached to their sovereignty. You have people who will push back, and you will create turmoils on the American continent. Yeah. So the globalism, I would say it will be more shift of great power. I will not say we will go back to the century of empire, like the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Russian Empire, but it will be change. We will have a big geopolitical change. Maybe we'll see in 5 years that maybe not the border, but the agreement between countries will have changed a lot. Diplomacy, it's always about changing.
I want to go back to what I said about universal basic income. If 100% of the people are getting self-governed, says where are they just staying at home on $2,000 a month? Is this a serf sort of thing where Maple Leaf is going to make all the money and everybody else will just be living on crumbs?
You answer your question. It's serfdom. It's serfdom. You pay them, they stay at home. You know what happens when you pay somebody at home? He loses hope. He doesn't have anything to. He doesn't have any no
Purpose.
property, no dignity. He started to decay slowly, and one day he will ask maid. That's what happened in 2000 and in 2020 when they started to pay people. I have a small garage here. He does the maintenance on my truck, and I go there and I ask him, "Well, how's the job? He said, I cannot have mechanics. I said, come on, it's in my small city. There's a lot of garage. He said, they stayed at home for 2 years, paid for they were making more money at home, watching Netflix, and they lost interest. And the sad thing is, it touched a lot of young generation in their prime time. They were demoralized, they were depressed, and you pay them, and suddenly you see alcoholism. So, and yes, it's already happening. Yes, Japan is exactly. There's an economist in France. He's studying Japan since 25 years, and the level of the debt in Japan is now it's 250% of the GDP.
Because is Japan productivity the essence of their national pride?
Yes, and not that's what the difference in Japan. It's because you don't have a lot of immigration, so the debt relies on citizens. But now it is too heavy since 25 years, and it is right. He's right that it's already happening. Japan was a test, laboratory test. We're seeing it now here in the Western world. How we will react, I have the feeling that people will have to ask themselves, what can I will go back again to JFK. What can you do for your country? Invest yourself, invest time in your, watch our panel.
Yeah.
But not only that, somebody said, start your own podcast. Try to, because we cannot deny the fact that social media has a very big influence.
Yes.
So why not use it? It doesn't mean that you don't have to go talk to your neighbor, but at least global world governance. I disagree. I disagree with this because I think that European Union now is exactly in the state of Soviet Union in 1987, 1986, 1987. So the dissension is in phenomenal, and people are fed up, and the superstructure does not work, but the corruption is there, and they try to hide it. You saw Charles's I forgot the name of the elected in Romania. The candidate that won the first round of the presidential election. He said he's a devoted Catholic, and he said, we will fight the European Union. They are now fighting the European Union. They're not just complying. Fico in Slovakia said the same thing. Viktor Orban, we know his policy. In Georgia now, they kicked out the president that she had to get out of the country. They're fighting back the superstructure. And you see the same phenomenon when the Soviet Union collapsed. People started to say, that's enough. We take back our sovereignty.
Right.
Maybe it will take 5 years. Maybe it will take 10 years. I don't know. But like Timothy said, the movement is shifting on the other side. The pendulum is going back. How it will end, I don't know. Well,
see, the thing is, going back to my analogy, if the river pushing over globalism is moving in a conservative direction, then globalism is going to paint itself as a conservative movement.
That's the way to hide.
The camouflage. So then my language as a globalist, so there'll be the UN, whatever's left of the EU, because if NATO loses funding and the UN loses funding, let's say depending on what Trump does, then the EU will crumble because that's a major source of its income. So you pull the plug on the money, these organizations will die because when a quarter of your money comes from the United States, you're not going to make it because they don't have a plan B, right? But so under the ideology of globalism, which is Marxism, under that ideology, if it says, well, the mood of the people is swinging conservative, then globalism begins to repaint itself as a more tribal, using tribal language, using nationalist language, right? So
there you go.
It is, and I agree that something like that is coming. That's that there are
NAU. It is what and
North American Union.
Yes.
I agree that something like that is coming, and we're seeing these things on like there will
whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not. So the question is, under what flag, under what oaths, right? Under what standards, under what constitution will these people who live in these new unions, will they exist? So the pushback is this seems to be the natural flow of civilizations because we've seen this repeated. If we are on the end of a Western civilization, at the tail end, then are we going to take the reins ourselves, or are we going to allow our elected nobility and our hired kings to rule over and make those decisions for us? Right. So when people like those who are participating in the comments section, when they participate and they share, they're saying, these are the things that we see. This is alarming. This is what will happen. And so my thought is, yes, but we may not be able to prevent it, but I do think that we can move it. Right. I think that we can move it. Let's use an example, and it's not a good example, but the picture's there. A woman who's about to give breech birth. You have a quality, like a nurse or some other assistant who knows how to do it, can actually massage the woman's belly and move the baby into a position that is safe for that baby to be birthed. And so we're looking at a new form. It's a really bad analogy. A new form of government, or a new form of civilization. And that it appears that we, the baby, are about to be breached. We're going to have a very bad, because a bad birth means a bad childhood. There's a lot of right. We can do that. We can manage that, but we need to have hope that we're not going to be left behind. We need to have hope that we're not going to be turned into mindless serfs.
Well, the analogy that you mentioned is interesting. Giving birth. It is Marx, and Hannah Arendt took it back, and she said history has a tendency of violence is the midwife of history, and violence brings back a new baby in life. That's one thing. The other thing is Mikhail Bulgakov, who was a Russian, or you can say Ukrainian if you want, because he was born in Kiev. But he has short stories of a young doctor, and it is a young doctor in Soviet Union in 1920, and he's called to go to deliver a baby, and he has a medical book. It was a German medical book at the time, one of the greatest, and he's drinking tea, and he's trying to find a way. He has to go deliver the baby, and he's afraid. They called him. The car is waiting with the horse. It is in winter, and he does not understand. He says, "What if it is a case of siege? I don't know." He's a young doctor. So he arrives there after 6-7 hours, and he delivers the baby, and he goes and put his hands in the uterus of the woman, and he turns the baby around. He doesn't have any experience at all. Yeah. And when he comes back home, the book is open, and he looks at it and he says, "It is so easy. Before, he didn't know. He was afraid, okay, the mother will die, the baby will die. And after the experience, so the experience is very important. The fact that we will live in troubled time will change our behavior. And that's a beauty. If people wants to read Bulgakov, that's a very beautiful short story. I think that's important, to give people hope, to tell them, even if it is hard time, try to experience things. Do not just rely on theory. Do not just rely on AI. Do not just rely on technology. Try yourself to do things that are useful in your community. And after that, you will maybe change your perspective. Maybe we will not have great power to have a decision over global geopolitics, but at least we can exchange those ideas and experience them. The other thing that I want to mention is, yesterday when I saw Mark Carney arrive in his Rolls-Royce limousine, I thought of Catherine II, the great Catherine. And many years ago, I think it was 20 years ago, in the Montreal Museum of Fine Art, they had the car of Catherine the Great in an exhibition. And I went to see that car in that exhibition, and I went to Russia, and I was looking at that. I said, wow, it's incredible. And yet Carney, when he arrived in his limousine, I was saying to him, where are my subjects? He comes from the city of London. Where are my subjects? It's not like Trudeau. Trudeau is the son of Pierre Trudeau, so he's like, it's like a small. I will not compare the Trudeau with the Kennedy, but the analogy is there. Trudeau is vulgar.
Bush Jr.
Well, and Carney is noble, and he arrives like the representative of the king.
Yes.
So he arrives in the limousine, a Rolls Royce. I was surprised it was not a Bentley.
And with no hamburger in his hand.
And you see, Trump, he eats McDonald's. Yeah. What do Carney will eat?
Yeah. Well,
roast beef.
Trump is using a populist language.
Yeah, a metaphor, right? a symbol. Language. Yes.
Masterfully. Whether we like him or lump him, he's gotten results.
Well, he was a garbage truck driver, so you can. He was very good at it.
Man's marketing team, because so many genius moments that will go down in the history like that. But so Carney comes in, and you're right. Carney comes in, waiting for he was the exiled captain of industry and diplomatic relations, right? Returns back to his homeland after many years at sea and conquest, establishing trade and diplomacy, putting the Queen's flag into every piece of land he steps on. Now returns home. That's what he's waiting for. I knew it.
He's waiting
for his triumph. Triumph.
Yeah, but
where's my parade?
Where's my where are all those little subjects with small Canadian flag waving like this and say, God save the king?
That's right.
Or God's, and it's just like, wait a second, he arrives like he's a king or the representative of the king. Maybe don't forget that Great Britain, they have MI6. And they are very active in the ex-Soviet Union Republic. They're opening, Great Britain now is opening university in Kazakhstan, in Tajikistan. They're opening universities everywhere because they target young generation around the ex-Soviet Union.
So the Eastern Bloc.
The Eastern Bloc. So now he's arriving like he's a representative of the new power. And there's a big fight now, a big battle between United States, the new power, the power of the 20th century, but the new power, and the old guard in Great Britain. I always saw the United States, peasants from my mom, I always saw the United States as the mercenaries of the old aristocracy. Look who's dying. Yes, it's Europe, but America, it's like the mercenary. They are great in technology. Yes, peasants, Justin. Rolling Stone. Well, that's it. And we will not. Maybe we ask a DNA test. We would be surprised with Margaret St. Clair and Fidel Castro. But you understand what I mean. The where we stand now is at it's at the edge of history. History is changing.
Do you guys know this guy, Kim Philby?
No, I don't know him.
I don't know the name.
But I will definitely ask my wife. Maybe she knows him.
He's one of two characters, two people that the character of James Bond is based on. The other one was Stalin's spy, Robert Sorge.
Yes,
the Soviets,
Robert Sorge was very interesting. He was hanging in Japan, huh?
Yeah, apparently the guy who hung him said he was the most amazing person he'd ever met. Like, he denied everything till the end. But
well, he denied everything, and he was hanged because Stalin said, "We don't know any Mr. Sorge."
Yeah.
That was quite fascinating. But that if he start with Soviet Union or Russian literature, I can talk about Solzhenitsyn and what I discovered recently. So, but maybe for next time.
Next time, yeah. Anyway, go Google this guy. Yeah.
That's everything.
That's good.
Yeah. So looking at so colonial Europe is in its death throes. Those death throes may be another generation in the making.
20 years.
Colonial Europe is done. Yeah, Germano, English, Russian, right? Where you don't even see the French in there.
But you know, Candace
get a lot of Catholics upset.
Candace Owen, she's about to do a podcast, and she's very, very famous in the United States. She's about to do a podcast about Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron. So maybe that's why we don't see French now.
Yeah.
Look, they try to have low profile.
Norman. Yeah. So while Europe is busy in its death throes, Russia is doing its very best to maintain self-sustainability despite everything the world has thrown at it for the last
2014. So
right.
2000 Maidan 2014.
Since NATO propped up its own government in the Ukraine. Right. Yeah, autocracy. I was thinking about the bloc countries, and funnily enough, these satellite nations who have become quite hardened to this type of political and economic behavior. So now they're under pressure because the gas lines have been what?
Well, Nord Stream was cut. And then last week, Ukraine attacked the Turkish stream.
Right. So then, right. And
Ukraine attacked. They did not do any damage, but they attacked the Turkish stream. The stream, the gas, the pipeline that goes down and goes back to Europe.
Yeah. So my thought is, I'm curious if China's One Belt could not offer an energy solution to the Eastern Bloc.
Well, they're working on it. The idea is that, and this is where Erdogan comes in the game, because Erdogan now is playing against Israel in Syria. Yeah. So you see the shift, the global shift. That's not only economical, it's geopolitical or ideological, and you have to play on the three level. If you play in diplomacy, you have to sustain your economical agreement, but it has to go according to your ideology. Let's say we take Trump, make America great again. Does he want to have just an economical, strategical power? Because he will take Arctic, he will take Greenland, he will start to push Canada. Or does he want to have a more imperial attitude? Then he needs vassal. Then he needs serfdom. Then maybe but you see, European Union now, they're starting to, they're going down. Germany now is going down 40-50%. And Alice Weidel, the leader of the Alternative for Deutschland, she said, if we win in February, we will restart Nord Stream. And Thierry Breton, who's a senior advisor at the European Union, he said, if the Alternative for Deutschland win in Germany in February, we will do exactly the same thing that we did in Romania. Cancel the election. This is a statement from Thierry Breton, I would say the assistant of Ursula von der Leyen. So they're admitting that they did a coup in Romania, and they say if in Germany, if the Alternative for Deutschland win, we will cancel the election. That will be the end of Soviet Union.
Mind you, this is the same nonsense they said about Trump. I don't know exactly the phrasing, but they said, Biden must not concede the election even if he loses. That's what Hillary Clinton said.
You are right.
2016, they tried, when Trump won, they actually tried to decertify. They did what they accused them of doing in 2020.
They did it for 4 years with the Russian collusion, and they lost. And it was in July when they replaced Biden with Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And usually the power in the United States is always transferred peacefully. And I remember one of the first statements was, we will not conceal the election. But the landslide was too big. They could not rig everything because I think they had a lot of people who were double checking or controlling ballots. So they could not change. So they tried to, but they could not. They cannot do it. It doesn't mean they will not try to do something. Look at what is happening since the beginning of the year in the United States.
Look at BC's election just a few months ago.
Yes.
And there are those of us who were involved with that on an administrative level, and we know there were shenanigans. We know that there were intentional mishandlings, right? Managed incompetence. They knew that if they did not give proper guidance to particular handlers, especially those counting and moving the ballot boxes themselves, that if they did not give them proper guidance, they knew that it would be mismanaged. And in so doing, they were able to manipulate those results. So we know that in very simple ways that you can't, take them to court over, we know that it's possible. My concern about Romania is if the people allow to go to another election and then it's refused, in Romania, you risk another Tiananmen Square.
Well,
right. So at which point will Prague 2.0 happen?
Well, they want to do a Maidan in Georgia. They want to do a Maidan in Romania, and I can guarantee you that the authoritarian regime will not permit it. I gave you one example. We had frozen bank account here in 2021. Right. Yeah. Now Thierry Breton in European Union said that if they have to refinance the European Union, they will freeze bank account of people in European Union. And the Central Bank of Russia said exactly the same thing. So when you look at this and you say that there's a power grab at a very high level, political level, they can say to people, okay, you are free, but if we decide that you're not, you have to comply. And it will be the geopolitical power that will decide. It will not be people.
I think they're underestimating it.
In its essence, that is a feudal system.
I'm referring to neo-feudalism. Yes. I refer to that since many years. I could not express it explicitly because I did not have the political instrument, or I did not have the knowledge. But today, what I see, it's an opinion, but what I see is that the superstructure is starting to reinstate authority. Maybe it's not that bad because with authority, you will maybe have moral code. The authority can bring a moral code. Now we had this matriarchal societies or matriarchal civilization, lack of authority, But now, baby, you start to have more more authority, hoping that it will not be authoritarian structure. There's a big difference between the two.
Authoritative.
So, yes. So
in the sense of like personal and corporate, and I don't mean corporate and corporal, right?
No.
Responsibility.
But that's
which goes back to noblesse oblige.
We were talking about the duty, the nobleness, the fact that we don't have only rights, we have responsibility, we have duty. Authority is important, kindness is important, but we have to understand the meaning of those words. Now the language has been perverted a lot. A man can be a woman, a man can give birth. We know all. I will not go back there. But if we go back to a more classical, like you were saying, Tim, conservatism, a more classical conservatism does not mean that we do not permit individual freedom.
Right.
We associate this with duty. And I remember in 2021, the politicians, they started to push this duty concept with the vaccine. It's a duty. I wanted to say, okay, go take it.
Yeah.
Go take it. Okay, I will assume my own responsibility, and I will assume my duty, the common good. But take it first. I trust you, but go first. Yes. And Albert Bourla at the time says, I cannot take my own vaccine because I don't want to take the place of an ordinary person. Yes. And I'm the Pope.
Yeah. The Pope speaks French now.
I don't know.
Not for what, 600 years?
Well, let's in winding it down, let's see what we got. Some funny stuff. Well, it's actually tragic. It's Trump might not make it till Monday.
So do we have assassination?
Boy. Does he have any insights?
He's got a BB gun and a ladder. Yeah.
Airsoft. Yeah.
But maybe we could. I wanted to talk about again the national policy on energy, because François Legault wrote a letter to the Hill in the United States, and I read the letter, and he was not threatening Trump, but he was pointing the fact that in Quebec we have a lot of natural resources. Strangely, lithium.
Right.
Aluminium, but he never mentioned gas and oil, because here there's a omerta on natural resources, what they call fossil energy. And here it is interesting in Quebec, because if this dam breaks, Poilievre will have a very good argument to push people to develop its natural resources. And I can refer to something in Quebec City. They're pushing for the tramway now, which is the tramway is supposed to cost $12 billion. And Poilievre said, we will not put more money than we already did, $1.2 billion, and that there's no tramway. And it is part of those 15-minute cities. So Poilievre is arriving and saying, we will develop a natural resource energy policy in collaboration with Trump, and Quebec will be isolated. François Legault is stuck because the exportation of natural resource in Quebec, it's essentially hydroelectricity.
Yes.
And he cannot cut that because we have contract. You can try to cut it, but you will end up in court. That's the first thing. So I think now the socialists or the social democrat in Quebec are stuck with their own contradiction. They cannot go against what is coming now, even at the global level or at a national level or at a continental level. If it is like new American Union, maybe.
Isn't that what happened to Russia after the Second World War?
Because
Russia First World War, they backed out because they got into so much trouble. It was just not feasible for them to participate.
By First World War, there was first of all there was a civil war, and there was the putsch against the Tsar. So
So then the Second World War, he's trying to, with the agreement with Germany, he's trying to forestall what they figured would be the inevitable, and then sides with the Allies, pushes back, and then insisting on sitting at the European table, insisting on sitting at the international table, and insisting that the other nations accepted Russia on Russia's terms. And that's Quebec regarding Canada.
Russia, right? I would say just Soviet Union, not Russia at that time.
Sorry, okay, Soviet Union. What the political structure, right, is similar to Quebec's political structure, insisting that Canada accept its engagement on Quebec's terms.
This is interesting what you're saying, because I would refer to what you said in a previous episode. You were talking about sovereignty of provinces, and I would say take the 50 states, and take the 10 provinces and the 2 territories, and give them political power, equal political power, in the sense that you treat your negotiator, you treat your the person you're negotiating with, you treat them equally. You have something, I have something. We respect each other. We exchange things. America is a great continent full of natural resources. Quebec is isolated, not only culturally, because we are stubborn. We use language and we use this distinct society to push back and not develop ourselves economically. That's what we do. I work for Hydro-Quebec. I can tell you we developed a lot. In Hydro-Quebec, we developed hydroelectricity. We were developing nuclear, and we dropped nuclear in 2012. Now there's a lot of natural resources, but if we are stuck in the narrative of fossil fuel, we stick with the UN Agenda 2030, and we stick with the climate change. We cannot develop them. And if the tide is changing, if the tide is turning and we are stuck, all actual politicians will have to backtrack, and they will lose a lot of political ground. It is coming. Poilievre will not be stopped. Even if Quebec says my prerogative is to have energy is my prerogative. Look at what happened with Newfoundland. Now it's back. There's a backlash because I think there's a lot of people who say, wait. How come we have a win-win agreement with Quebec? It never happened before. Why it will happen now?
Yeah.
Because maybe we're screwed again.
Because they are.
Because they are. Because you can imagine if the energy, the price of energy goes up 5 to 10 times what it is now. Newfoundland will say, okay, you paid us 6 cents per kilowatt hour, but now you're making 18 cents.
That's right.
Now the Ministry of Energy in Quebec is saying that we have to accept that will be a shock in tariff. What do you mean, a shock in tariff? Now it is 8 cents per kilowatt hour in for a residential tariff. It will be 16, 17. New York is already paying 17, 20. So imagine Newfoundlanders, they will say, wait, you pay me 6 cents, but now you make 18 cents with the new development in Newfoundland. That's why the ex-prime minister, I think he saw the scheme. He saw it. He understands what is coming.
Oh, Danny Williams.
Why I say this is because imagine if the price of energy goes up.
Yeah.
It means that Quebec is even more isolated. And if they want to stay isolated, it's a question of language, of culture. They will not sustain the wave. Yeah. The blue wave or the conservative wave will force people to develop what I call natural resources. That's a hypothesis. That's an opinion. But
and it's possible that if Quebec does end up earning more from its export electricity, and it's significant, that the Western Canadian provinces will go, hey, wait a minute. Well, Alberta in particular.
And yes,
You're making money hand over fist off of electricity and your electrical grid, a natural resource that you've managed to keep out of the transfer payments formula.
well, there was an argument this week because in the calculation of the transfer payment, the hydroelectricity production is not taken in account.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you take it in account, you will have it was about $4.5 billion. So the transfer is not 13.8 billion. It goes down to 8 or 7 billion. So you can imagine, and honestly, if you're treated equal, should not be transferred. There should not be transfer. Like I say, in 2012, I was not aware of that. I think it was this Stockholm syndrome that I was suffering for. It is not. If we want to defend Quebec, we have to defend our sovereignty. Energy is a provincial prerogative. Today, I tell myself, wait a second. If I work with the rest of Canada, we can develop a national policy on energy. It does not undermine the specificity of Quebec.
No.
But then you add the Trump component in the equation, and Trump arrives and says, "Okay, I'm asking you to be partner. Partner. First, fix your border problem. Fix your social problem." Yeah. And then after that, we can have a national or a continental policy on energy, because on the other side of the planet, you have Russia, you have China, and don't forget, you have Iran. Iran is working with Turkey. So they are they have megapole of economical power. And I think Trump understood that. It's okay. Either you work with us or we will just eat you alive. Right. And if we're intelligent enough, we will put down those barriers and start to talk to each other. Yeah. Honestly, not politically. That would be important.
That's a very interesting element. I was at a PPC candidates event the other night, and one of the things that he did differently that I thought was very good, it was a dinner. And after the dinner, he spoke for about 5 minutes and then opened to the floor. And he said, if I'm to be your representative, I need to know what you think. I need to know what you want. It's not good enough for me to tell you what the party wants to do. It's not good enough for me to make promises to you that we're going to fix this and do that and do this and that. I want to hear what you have to say. And of course, the entire table breaks out into 7 voices, 12 voices, all saying their own thing. There was a bit of a cacophony, but it was fantastic. I watched because here were people mostly middle-aged and older, that the audience that it's attracting right now. Those are people who said, okay, that's enough. I'm going to be politically motivated, politically active. But they all began to share what they were thinking, and they all began to say with it. And that was very, very good step. And I think that that's different than what's been happening previously, the last 20 years even, because now people are finally saying out loud what they've been stressed about, saying out loud what they're concerned about. And some of the information they're sharing is not completely accurate. Some of it's flat wrong. But
not important.
That's not the fact. That's right. Psychologically, I feel rewarded when somebody just listens to me.
That's exactly
and right. And so the listener listens and does not correct me, does not cajole me, does not add on top or modify. They just
no contentment.
That's right. And so everybody in that room, even though there were some loud voices and people talking over each other, because you unpop the cork, this massive dissentiment or dissatisfaction being given a voice, right? Look at our comments section here. We have people who know the things that they know and need to express the things that they need to express, and just allowing people to have that expression provide some relief and provide some hope, because they, as people share, and even if it's just among their family and friends, their vision begins to crystallize. it forms and reforms, and they modify it and they adjust it even in themselves. And that develops a surety, right? That develops a surety where the individual themselves becomes confident in what they think and what they feel and what they desire. And then that's the same way we talk about with every episode. You take that desire to see change, and you be the change, pardon the the Hallmark card, but become active in your community, whether you're a football coach or you're active at Girl Guides or et cetera, you become it. So municipal level in town hall, become a counselor, join your school board, provincially become involved in provincial politics and federal politics, find your way into these social civic organizations and participate, because as your voice clarifies and as you become more sure of the way you see it and the way you want it expressed, you will find others who will have that same expression.
And maybe
our podcast is to help people to find that crystallization.
Well, you give them voices first, you listen to them, then it's not enough, because like you see, I wrote this article this week, populist movement and political strategy, the top down. The image that I took was an image that a picture that I took in 2012 in the intake of La Sarcelle power plant in Quebec. And it's a big tunnel. It is incredible. And I was trying to find, I like to find classical painting to put in my article. And then I said, I have a very beautiful picture. And I went to take it, and it's very big. It's the intake of the turbine. And it's the idea of a tunnel. You have one person at one point who tells you his conception of reality. Then you have to translate it in a political movement with a goal and a deadline. You have to be able to say, okay, what are you expecting? I expect that my children will be able to achieve housing. Okay, we will promise you that your children will be able to achieve a house, to buy a first house. How do we do that? We have to determine a strategy. We have to know, because the structure is sick. We know it will be difficult. We cannot promise you the moon, but we will help you. And you have to be able, as an individual, to measure it. You have to be able to see if it is an improvement. What did we see in the last 6 years with the pandemic? We saw a degradation of the level of life of people everywhere. Of course, people who are more rich, they don't feel it as much as people who are poorer. And that's why the idea of universal basic income, it looks appealing, but it is not. It is not, because we're trying to fix a cancer with aspirin, with Tylenol. Don't do that. Go to the roots of the problem and listen to the despair of people, and try to develop a strategy, a long-term strategy. You need short-term action, but long-term strategy means you need a strategy. If it's only a movement, you do not have. It's like, I think Peyman, he said one of his, he hosted the space, and he was saying exactly that. He said, they're moving the goalpost. I can win all the time if I move the goalpost. If I do not define a good strategy and a goal that I will achieve, and if I miss, I will accept that I did not achieve the result, and I will do a post-mortem. What do we see now? They always move the goalpost. You can never be rewarded or recognized for what you do. I think it's important that people will start to feel it pragmatically, economically. In Quebec, it's incredible. We are, I'm sorry to say this, we are a third world country province, because we are receiving $14 billion per year from the rest of Canada. And we are not developing our natural, and we are proud that we're not doing it. How other Canadians feel about this? They're not feeling very happy. And it's not a way to negotiate with people. I think we have to open our borders in a sense that we have to negotiate with people, and we have to stop playing with words all the time. That would be a good start. I think Trump shook the column of the temple. And Poilievre understood the message. Carney is arriving, like you said, to try to save the liberal brand, because he cannot do nothing else. He can, but maybe he's preparing something more, I would say, diabolic in a sense. We don't know. Like one of the viewers said, maybe they will change the face of globalism, and maybe globalism will be as evil as it is now.
The face of globalism in Canada is going to change over the next 4 years, probably 8 or even 9 years, because the Blue Party is going to paint it their way. So the public language, the public dialogue around how Canada perceives globalism is going to be more blue. It has to be.
If I'm a conspiracy theorist, I will say which blue. It is not dark blue. It will be this blue against
UN blue.
You know, the blue. The blue for DEW to protect us against.
That's a joke I made on Facebook today. Somebody was talking about the DEW.
That's it. I will be censored now.
They were asking what was a proper shade of blue. I said, well, let's try the UN shade of blue. The yes, tied to and Terra Carta. and see, we are talking about Warhammer Universe. We're talking about Terra.
Financialization of nature. That's true. That's exactly what is happening now. I'm reading a book from Maria Pumier. I will do a podcast in a couple of weeks. Her book is Merchandising Human Life. She's talking about abortion. She's talking about sterilization. This book is it is very painful psychologically to read this, and it is based on facts since 25-30 years. And yes, financialization of nature, meaning financialization procreation. The universal basic income could also be a threat. You don't have children and you will have $2,000 per month. We go back to this utopia of control, birth control, eugenism.
Brave New World.
Yes.
Brave New World. It's so close to Brave New World. It's crazy.
It's Huxley, yes.
Yeah, I made a joke on Facebook because I'm primarily on Facebook. I made a joke and I said that social media is the new sacred ground, right? And the euphoric relief, the dopamine hit that people are getting from social media. This is Soma.
This Soma, yes, exactly. Exactly. Right.
Drug that's used in Brave New World, SOMA, which is itself as a joke because it has to do with Soma being a reference to sleep.
Yes, right? Sleep, right? Psychosomatism, and Ramstyle.
I made a
yes, he's right.
I made a note here that UBI is UBI is minimum wage for the masses.
It is.
It's taking the concept of minimum wage and pushing it across the entire population, or as you would stage, as you would implement such a thing into your national policy, it will first go into people who are already effectively plugged into the system, which were people will be those on CPP or disability or other.
Well, drug addicts, fentanyl,
Peyman, Plan G, right? These types of programs, they are natural test beds for UBI. In those systems.
In many places now, they're financing drug injection sites near primary school. You say
you're killing me, Wolf.
Just a
quick message to Canada First and Gary. We're trying to keep this politically non-partisan, so some of your messages I'm not putting up. Sorry.
We try as much as possible.
There was a note, saying, asking why Peyman doesn't talk as much as the other two of us. I think and it's not his fault, and it's not our fault. Peyman is a natural interviewer and is very inclined to share the mic and let other people share their views. We are trying to beat that out of him in the back rooms, but we have not been effective at it yet.
No, it works in the back room. It doesn't work here.
In the back room,
In the back room, sometimes in the back room, I see I'm not on Telegram for 4 or 5 hours, and I see 75 comments, and I tell myself, what did I miss? So he's very active, very active.
Yeah. So we want to get more conversation out of Peyman, and we're working on it. Yeah.
Let me get this puppy up. Oh, come on, Wolf. Damn it. Twitter doesn't save normal human beings do. It saves in a different. All right, I'm bringing up the privacy be damned. I'm just gonna go show everyone my inbox.
Yeah, that could be bad.
So this is the first one. Looking. Oh, okay.
Looking. Oh, yes. Safe and secure. Oh, I like this one.
Yeah, just as a joke, if they ask you what you need the money for, just say something like drugs, prostitutes, or political assassinations.
That was somebody did that.
Probably not political assassination.
That's somebody did that. He went to the bank and he said, "Okay, I want to have a sexual reassignment surgery, so I need $10,000." And
wow.
he started to bullshit the cashier.
Yeah.
And they had to call the manager because yes, you have to play their game. You have to play their game. You talk to me stupidly, I will answer stupidly. But with diplomacy. Yeah. With diplomacy. Then if it doesn't work, take out your gun.
Right. I have no idea what this is.
That's he's a poet. I recognize my own writing.
All right. Yeah, the dopamine trap.
That is very good.
Yeah.
Tell him that I need to see this. It is very interesting.
So Gary asked to watch Logan's Run. Logan's Run is classic, and it's very indicative of what we could probably expect 2-3 generations from now if we continue on this slide without stopping it.
But we are already experiencing it. Now
MAID, right? Yeah, MAID, which I call can gas, right?
MAID, it is
government-assisted suicide.
Euthanasia. They play on words all the time.
And Logan's Run has that because they have a collective suicide event called Carousel or something like that in Logan's Run, where at 30 years of age they all collectively commit suicide.
You saw this with the sect of Jim Jones. Right. You know, it is a cult. It is a cult. When we are starting to promote MAID, like medical assistance, this is not medicine. It has nothing to do with medicine.
It's not medicine.
It's not medicine.
I was going to say every low budget sci-fi TV show has an episode on something like that.
Well, because
population, races, and age.
And because it's a way to write cheap scenario.
Well, it is an easy way to get something pushed out into, film or whatnot. But these events that continue to draw us back to a larger conversation or a community-sized conversations, TV, films, and stuff like that, is because this is part of the human psyche. It's part of our DNA to have a collective experience regarding, right, birth, right, passage, was that rites of passage, right, the pubescent years, marriage, right, the family raising, conquest, which is employment and creativity exercises, and death and the thing. These are human experiences. The problem with North America creatives lately is they're very cheap. There's not a whole lot of creativity or respect for the material.
I can make just a small correction about you said it's part of our DNA. I would say it's part of Pfizer DNA now. I'm serious. That's why I refer to AI and I refer to technology, or what I call techno-fascism. We are entering this world, and younger generation, they're not aware of what they're happening. You know, we were all 14 years old. We were all we're craving technology. We're craving novelties. It's normal, but they're not aware of how they can be controlled or manipulated politically, and that's dangerous. That's the responsibility of mature adult. To
You know what
protect.
scares me is that even the adults don't. Some of the adults don't see it. People like my
Most
parents
of
say.
them. But it is not a reason not to fight back. It's not a reason not to fight back. We have to be able to influence people.
Look at is it Keenan Bext trying to get into
The press conference of Carney.
Carney's press conference, and he's dressed like a 14-year-old. I wouldn't let you into my press conference, huh?
I thought he was 14.
Right? I wouldn't let you into my press conference either if you show disrespect to the process.
He looks, you know,
this man is going to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and you think you can walk in there with a toque and a thrift store blazer and a protest T-shirt?
Why not a woman? Why not a woman in bikini? It's what you're mentioning, Tim, is important. The protocol has to be respected. The authority has to be respected.
Yes.
Mutual respect is important.
Yes.
You can go on a beach in a bikini, but if you go in a restaurant, many years ago, you were arriving in a high-class restaurant that says you have jeans, you don't come in.
Sure, they did let in a different journalist. It's okay. I'm being accused of unfair critique, but do you disagree with what I said? Right, and what I said is there is an element where, yes, what I'm saying is truth, what I'm revealing is truth, and what is important, and that's fair. But no one's going to hear you if you can't get in the room. So there is an element.
This episode is falling apart.
No. You have to understand that he's right. If you would be a drag queen or a transgender, you would have been accepted immediately in the Liberal rally.
Yeah, there's a line
you saw Trudeau, huh?
Yeah.
Trudeau he forbid Alexandra Lavoie from Rebel News, and when she asked him, it was in 2020 or 2021, she went into the press conference and she asked a question, and he said, "You're not a journalist. I'm not answering to you." She's Canadian. Why you don't answer to Canadian? You're afraid?
Yeah. At the same time, though, when you have an audience with the king, there is protocol. There is protocol. Decorum. And if even though that a lot of us are in protest and revolutionary mindset because we are pushing back against an absolutely totalitarian system, in spite of that, we can't go in dressed in our Bermuda shorts and Florida. Sure, F Kings too, but there's still a protocol.
Yes.
Because regardless of who leads you, they do have it. The chair deserves respect.
You
Not
understand?
necessarily the person, but the chair deserves respect.
You remember I told you about King George and Beau Brummel. Beau Brummel was a friend of King George, and they're very familiar. And Beau Brummel is he was like, you know, why we say Beau Brummel? It's a handsome man, very popular with women and everything. And he's with George. He's with King George, and he's there. When he was alone with him, he was calling the King George. But one day he was in the room and there was a diplomat. And at the time when they wanted to have tea, they ring the bell to bring the servant with the tea. And Beau Brummel said to King George, and there was a diplomat in the room. He said, "Ring the bell, George." When he was alone with George, George would say, "Don't come on, Beau, call me George." But when somebody is in the room with me, you have to call me my king. Yes. And he made the mistake, and after that, Beau Brummel disappeared completely from the royal court. So you can understand the protocol. You have to understand, if you're in a public environment, you have to respect the protocol. If you don't, you will be treated like that.
Yeah, and I Keenan's all right. I'm no fan of Keenan, but Keenan and those like him pushing into that space and moving or revealing to us the shenanigans that are going on, etc., and sharing their commentary with us in the way they do. That's an important element of our citizenry. That's an important element of our culture, is that these are the bards and the jesters, right? These are the voices of our time who speak to the individual, right? Who speak to the populace. At the same time, even the jester, when he's making fun of the king, and that's a sacred role, he was protected in this role, knows there are certain lines he does not cross. He knows this, right? He knows, yes, the Loki archetype is important, but Loki doesn't piss off Odin, does he? Right? Loki harasses his brother. Loki does all the, right? He goes and makes sea serpents and does all these other twisted things, because that's the role of the jester. And in many ways, modern journalists, particularly, that's a hard word all of a sudden, my goodness.
Particularly.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. The French Canadian.
That's not even my language.
Too many L's. Particularly, I did it during the last 5 years or so, and certainly since 2015. Those voices are necessary. But the protocol is useful. Protocol helps us to maintain civility, right? There are lines. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of Keenan, but he plays a role, right? I'm not a fan of Lawton, but he plays a role. I'm not a fan of, who's the other one? Rebel News.
Ezra Levant.
I'm not a fan.
Or I like how.
I think that as they have grown in fame, they've become less relevant.
Well, you know, what's his name? Mendes. I forgot his name, first name, from Rebel News. He was arrested. David Mendes. This man, I like him because he's always polite. Of course, he has his hat, but he's always
well dressed. It's the hat. But see, the hat is his archetype. The hat are his Loki horns.
But
right? That's his mask.
You know, everywhere he goes, you can agree or disagree with Rebel News, but everywhere he goes, he's always polite, even when he's arrested.
Right.
And that's quite. And I would say even this young man at the press conference of Carney, you know, when he went out, he was talking to the policeman, and he was very polite. Okay, forget about the hat, but he had a certain decorum.
Right.
I have to admit,
and that's his character.
That's the character, exactly.
Right. So the character, I think, a sound character, integrity, and personal strength, commitment to your own values, comes through whatever personality you're displaying at the time. And then, so that based on your audience, right? Voting for Carney. Based on your audience, you will make a particular presentation of yourself. So as we find a lot of the protest voices, right, that rose up through the last 5, 7, 10 years, as they become less and less relevant because they age out of the moment they were born in, because the moment moves on, then new voices will step into that gap. This is fad 101, right? This is marketing 101. New voices will step into that gap. So then the people like ourselves stepping in, the work that Peyman is doing is extraordinary in that he's giving voices that do not get heard. More than 100 interviews of people who simply do not get heard, and he provides them. He provides that for them.
Yes, but you see now Peyman is not speaking, but it's all his viewers that are commentating. Right. It's his fan club today.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before we went live. People, they're dressed like sloth. So Tim has made a personal decision to grow a beard. But like people who roll out of bed, don't shave, don't put a shirt on, don't put a tie on. You know, like if you're going to an event and if the future prime minister might be there, maybe try not dressing like a piece of shit. You know, like, is that too much to ask?
But you know,
there he is.
You are right, and like I said, when I carry stone here, do you think I wear a tie or do you think I look like shit? but I'm working. It doesn't mean
yeah,
that
that's different. Yeah.
But if I go to the theater, you know, in Russia, they still have this sense of elegance. When they go to opera or they go to a ballet or they go to a theater, you go to the Bolshoi in Moscow, I can guarantee you they're all well dressed. Because they respect. If I he doesn't have to worry because today grocery will be delivered by a drone.
So then you answer the door in your pajamas.
You know, that's why you were saying, Tim, that now companies, they sell more shirts and suit or blazer than they sell pants. Now we don't have pants, so
yeah.
I just wanted to respond to Wolf. He says he's never going to wear a tie ever again. That's fine, Wolf. But next time you see a fat, ugly politician like Elizabeth May, you can't complain about how they don't look professional. I don't know. I like if I don't wear a tie, I feel naked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a civilian, right? As a civilian, you do what is right for you within the boundary of law and common. Okay, we're not doing that game.
Yeah, this isn't that. This is not OnlyFans. Yeah.
No. You know the concept of strip poker,
right?
They always lose.
Don't loud because someone's going to want us to do that.
We will not play that. We will not play that. Not today.
This is not a telethon.
And not live.
And thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, the episode's run its course. So in wrapping this up,
the episode has run its course, and our commenters and guests have completely taken us off script.
No, that's okay. You know, it's not bad because we have to react. I like it. And we integrate people into the conversation.
I remember
let's end it off by asking, who do you think is going to be the next Liberal Party leader? I think it's Carney.
It's Carney, hands down.
Andre?
No, I agree with you both. It will be Mark Carney.
Yeah, on his white steed.
I was going to say pimp mobile, the Pope mobile.
It looks like the Pope mobile. Yes, you're right.
Canada versus Carney as well.
Carney.
At least he won't be riding a unicorn over the rainbow.
Your good fellows and your personalities have shown through nicely. I am encouraged.
Lemon Mobile. There it is.
Lemon
Mobile. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So
they have a nice dog. I like this little puppy.
Yeah. Shih Tzu. That reminds me of a traveling salesman goes to a small town in Midwestern United States and sees an ad for a zoo, and he says, "Oh, this would be interesting. I'll go check out the zoo." And he paid like $20 for access, and there was only one animal. And asked later what he felt about it. He said it was a shit zoo.
I did not see that coming. All right. Well, thanks to the audience for joining in. Tim, Andre, I'll see you guys next week.
And share us with your friends.
Have a good weekend.
Yes.
All of you.
Come back for next week. And we have some evil plans, so keep in touch.
Oh, yeah, there's homework. Read the show notes. There's homework. You're going to be graded next time.
And do your homework, because this counts toward your final grade.
And don't forget the Carneyval.
Carneyval.
Le bonhomme Carnaval.
The show was going so well until that comment, Andre. It was a stellar show. See you guys.